name is Laura. Welcome to my Connecticut garden. 3 years ago, we bought this house, and this area here was just a blank slate. It was about a 500-foot area, just bare earth, and there were some compost bins over there that were filled to the top with manure and hay. So I saw a little possibility here. We didn't know what we wanted to do with it. I thought, will we plant grass here and just make it part of our lawn, or do we want to do something special with it? So I had a couple of years to think about it. We got settled into our house, bought furniture and everything, and didn't think about it for a while. Then I started looking at some Pinterest videos and got a lot of inspiration from gardens that other people had created. And I thought, wow, maybe I'd like to try that. So I started to get a little inspiration from that. And then one day I was watching a parenting webinar, and there was Nikki and Dave. And they said, we'll take you by the hand and show you step by step how to build your own garden. And I thought, well, maybe I'll go for it. And you know, that was very inspiring. As long as I have somebody to guide me, I think I can do this. I watched one video of Nikki, and she was sprinkling some seeds on a tray of soil. This is how you start your plants from seed. And I said, oh, okay, I can do that. I think I'll give this a go. So the first step that I knew I had to take was to build a fence. So we hired somebody to install a fence. We put wire mesh, trenched it a foot down, because I didn't want to grow a garden to feed the local wildlife. I wanted to actually enjoy the food. So we had the fence installed. And then we, you know, the big initial difficulty was bringing in all the materials. I got bricks for my borders. I got trellises and supports that I knew that my plants would need. And so that was a pretty big initial expense, and also a lot of work. We expanded it to 700 square feet, so I had to dig out some sod. I handpicked grubs that I found in the soil that I knew wouldn't be good for the garden. And so, you know, that was hours. That was a lot of hours of initial work to put in, but I found that I enjoyed it. The hours just went by. I didn't even realize anymore what time it was, and I was having fun, because what I had designed on paper was finally becoming 3D, and I could actually walk around in it. And so it was very rewarding work in the beginning. So then it was springtime. I got all of my seedlings in the ground. Everything was happy and fresh and green. And that's when the invaders came, as soon as it started to warm up. I would come out in the morning and find my leaves had jagged edges, and that some plants actually disappeared, some were bitten down to the stem. And initially I thought that it was slugs. So come on in and I'll tell you more about it. So I initially thought it was slugs, and I came out here one night with a flashlight and found my plants covered in earwigs. So then that's where Nikki and Dave come in. They have been through it all. The combined experience between them and then everybody who's in the group, people give you guidance as to how to deal with these problems. Nikki brought in an entomologist. We discussed what could be done about the different pests that come to your garden. I discovered a trap online that was really effective against the earwigs, and I got the population under control, and my plants came back. My plants that were bitten down started to come back. And so for every problem that you have, there's a solution. There's a solution out there. So another difficulty that I had was my carrots and my parsnips, my radishes, my root vegetables were not taking. The plants got big, but then the actual root was not formed at all. And I realized I had skipped a very important step of testing my soil. You need to give your plants everything that they're going to need. It would have been so easy to add these amendments before I put my vegetables in, but I'll be ahead of the game next year. So, you know, that was another problem that I encountered. Now I think I have a problem with aphids, but for that I'm just going to order some ladybugs, and the ladybugs will take care of the aphids. The reward of having a garden, it's just been unbelievable. This was my first attempt, my first serious attempt at having a garden, and I was away last week and I hadn't been to the store, so I was wondering, what am I going to feed my grandson for dinner? I walked out here, harvested green beans, and had some tortellini in the freezer, and there was dinner. So the convenience of it is a huge plus. In the spring I was going and picking lettuce at lunchtime for my salads. When I have a recipe that requires any kind of herbs, I can just come out here and snip some off, and so it's super convenient. Another reward has been just the taste of everything. It doesn't taste like what you get in the store. I picked some tomatoes. I've got my tomatoes over here. I've started picking some tomatoes, and it brought back some childhood memories. The tomatoes actually taste like the ones from my dad's garden years ago when he was growing tomatoes. I haven't been able to get that flavor, even going to organic farm stands. For some reason, when you just pick it off the vine and it's warm from the sun, there's just nothing that can compare to that flavor. Also, when you buy seeds, you can experiment with different varieties and see, you know, which variety of green bean tastes better, which variety of tomato tastes better. There's right now I'm experimenting between Italian basil versus African basil, which I have back there. I'm going to see, you know, which one we like better. So that has been very rewarding. Also, another reward is just that you've developed a new set of skills. I can call myself a gardener now. I never thought that I'm a beginner gardener, but I can call myself a gardener now, and you know, I've developed skills that I never thought that I would have. So that's quite a sense of accomplishment. But I think the biggest reward is, for me, is kind of by accident I've created this outdoor room. As my vines grow up, they give me a sense of space and a sense of privacy, and I definitely want to expand on that next year. I want my garden to have walls around it. When I come out here, one of Nikki's best suggestions was to create a seating area. So I'll come out here and sit in my chair with a cup of tea, and all of a sudden all of my stress of the day is released. It's very quiet and peaceful. There's fragrance. A few weeks ago I had lilies growing over there. The wind, a breeze would come along and bring this intoxicating fragrance. I have lavender here, and so it's sort of like aromatherapy sitting out in this chair. And also it's teeming with life. There's bees flying around the flowers. There's birds that swoop in. I watch them catching butterfly moths by the hundreds. I've seen hummingbirds go from flower to flower. So there's this life and activity that's very subtle, but that you become a part of when you just take the time to sit and be still out in your garden. I feel, I don't know, you know, just this intense feeling of peace being out here. So I feel like there's a big psychological benefit to a garden, as well as it just being utilitarian and growing food. For a beginner, I definitely recommend, if you can, creating an outdoor room and Put it close to your house. Don't have it way out far away from your house. Make it an extension of your home. There's just nothing like having a garden right near your kitchen, and the convenience of coming out and getting your vegetables for your meals. And I definitely recommend testing your soil. I recommend taking the time to plan. I would recommend starting in the summer for your following season. Save up some money. Have a good budget, because there is quite a big initial expense, but I won't have to buy any of this next year. So it's just that first year that you'll have to put some money into it. For your borders, I ordered, plastic for a special plastic that lets the nutrients through for my pathways. I didn't want to be spending all my hours weeding. So I recommend doing that, and the fun part for me was the design. Take your time, design, figure out which parts of your garden are shady, which parts are sunny, what plants like growing next to each other, what plants like sun, which ones want some shade, and then adding color and fragrance, and adding some artwork, and make it very personal. It can also be a super creative process as well. So I never mind coming out and working in my garden, because to me it's just a very beautiful space. You're surrounded with beauty. So go ahead and get creative and make it beautiful. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed the tour of my garden, and I'll just show you around a little bit. Here I've got a lot of scallions that are ready to be harvested, and some herbs. I've got perennial, I've got ever-bearing strawberries, and the thing about planting perennials is you don't have to plant them again. You plant them once and they'll come back for you year after year. In the center I added basically a pollinator garden. I have lavender, echinacea, and there's Nikki and Dave sent me some sweet potato, and it's just thriving here. I have pots with herbs. I put some herbs in a container, such as the mint, so it doesn't take over my garden. And this section back here gets a lot of shade from that tree. But there's, obviously plants that really like the shade. I have cauliflower and broccoli. My lettuces all thrive in the shade. And then over here is the sunny half of my garden, where I have my tomatoes, my cucumbers, and all of the things that like a lot of heat and a lot of sun. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed. Goodbye and happy gardening.